Maryam grew up in a non-practicing Christian home in Fuenlabrada, a working-class suburb of Madrid. She was christened Maria and celebrated her first communion, but says she doesn't remember ever going to Mass. Now at the age of 29, she has converted to Islam, a process she says took place over the last decade, beginning when she was 19 and her Moroccan-born boyfriend gave her a book that began this gradual process of change. It wasn't the Quran, it was simply called Islam and it was on sale at the book fair. It awoke my curiosity, but it didn't make me believe immediately, she recalls. She began to look deeper into Islam, reading biographies of its prophets, watching documentaries, and finally tackling the Quran itself. As her knowledge of Islam grew, she started to change her lifestyle. She never hid anything from her parents, but neither did she explain what was going on. She wanted them to find out in as natural a way as possible, so that it wouldn't come as a blow. She introduced them to her boyfriend and started to drop small hints, messages she calls them. I left books on Islam around. They noticed that I was changing, that I spent more time at home and didn't go to the swimming pool as much as before, she says. Maryam's biggest fear is fear itself, the fear that she might stir in those outside her family. I know how these things work and what society is like, she says. I know that the day I go out with my parents wearing the hijab and a friend sees us, it won't be easy. When people see a convert, they think, where have their parents failed? That's what I want to spare them. I don't want them to suffer. Because of this, Maryam is managing her conversion on 2 levels, combining her own culture with her adopted faith. She is in no hurry. For example, she doesn't cover her head when she goes out with her family. They have seen the scarves and the abayas, but they have never seen me dressed like that, she explains. Allah willing, I'm going to be around for a while, so it's better to go slowly. Maryam has spent the last 3 years observing Ramadan. She went to the mosque on the M30, which is her favourite, and to her boyfriend's family home where she celebrated iftar, the dinner that marks the end of Ramadan. But this year, something changed. Last Monday I got up and decided I didn't want to spend another second not being a Muslim. I considered I had enough knowledge to take the step. It's been a long time, she explains. She asked her closest friends and her boyfriend to come to the mosque in Al-Sunnah, the Islamic center in Fuenlabrada, and there in front of an imam she recited the Shahada, one of the 5 pillars of the Muslim faith containing the precepts of Islam. I pronounced the Arabic very badly. I was very nervous because I'd been wanting to do this for a long time. I got tearful and lost my place, she recalls, smiling. It was very emotional. I felt at peace. You can do it alone, in private, or with more people. I decided to do it as I did because it's good for the community. She is planning to marry her boyfriend, but she insists on separating the 2 things. I know that 99% of people will think I have converted for love, that I have done this for a boy, she says, but he would be the first to say that would be wrong. It shouldn't be an obligation. It has to come from the heart. He wouldn't have let me recite the Shahada for him because it's not fair to either of us. Maryam says that if the marriage does work, she will continue in the Islamic faith. I have converted for myself, that's the truth. It's not as though one day I got up and said, I believe. It's a belief I have acquired gradually. Like the majority of Muslims, Maryam believes that Spanish society is steeped in prejudice where Islam is concerned. In part, she blames the media for distorting the truth and focusing on the negative. She looks sad when she talks about Syria or the attacks on Brussels, pulling a face when she mentions the so-called Islamic State. Religion gets confused with culture, she says. It's true that there are Muslim countries where violence against women goes unpunished, but it is not allowed in Islam. It is not the religion that's to blame, it is the people and lack of education, she says. For Maryam, conversion brought her a feeling of liberation. She says she feels happier and more satisfied with her new self, which she describes as more balanced. I wear a headscarf when I go out and I feel free. Isn't that strange? When I put on the scarf and see that nobody looks at me and nobody annoys me, that to me is freedom, to be able to wear what I like, covering myself up, she says. But for now, she will continue to study Arabic and focus on helping to alleviate her family's fears. But because of the nature of her conversion, she is confident that her fears can be managed. She can't remember when she stopped being Maria to become Maryam. It's easier for Muslims to pronounce, and so they started to call me that, she explains. The real challenge will be learning how to combine my own culture with my adopted culture, and the hijab, for example, she says, adding that she is Maryam and also Maria.